Hello, Bond fans, and welcome once again. So today I'm going to be biting the proverbial Bond bullet and reviewing a film that I consider to be one of the weakest in the entire series. But first, perhaps I should give a little bit of history on why it has taken me so long to get around to reviewing this particular film. So, I initially reviewed this when I started this channel some years ago, but as part of my initiative to upgrade the quality of my earlier output, I removed the first few movie reviews from my channel and redid the reviews, starting with Dr. No from Russia with Love and Goldfinger, films that I like talking about and enjoy watching over and over again. The same cannot be said for Thunderball. So basically, the reason for me taking so long to get around to reviewing this one is that, well, spoiler alert, I don't like this film very much. But let's discuss once and for all why, shall we? Let's jump right into the fourth James Bond Sean Connery screen adventure, Thunderball. The film opens with the first gun barrel of the series to feature Sean Connery, as the sequence had to be refilmed due to Thunderball being the first Bond film in the new widescreen aspect ratio. We then proceed to James Bond's funeral. Huh, well that was mercifully short. Taxi! Oh no, wait a minute, he's alive and well in France and actually is attending the funeral of a Colonel Jacques Beauvoir, a Spectre agent who killed two of Bond's colleagues.
Jacques Beauvoir murdered two of my colleagues.
I love the side glance from this French woman when Bond's talking. She's like, alright, Christ, let it go. She even, rubs it in about Bond, being pissed off that he didn't get to kill the Colonel. Antagonistic much?
You sound disappointed you did not kill him yourself. Huh?
I am.
Bond notices something fishy about the Colonel's widow and goes to investigate.
Madame, I've come to offer my sincere condolences.
You did an interview in which you said, it's not the worst thing to slap a woman now and then. As I remember, you said you don't do it with a clenched fist, it's better to do it with an open hand.
I haven't changed my opinion.
Ah! It's not a woman, it's a transvestite! Along with Pussy Galore and Winton Kid, these early James Bond films really did push the boundaries for LGBT people in cinema. No, it's not a transvestite. But because it is clearly so inconceivable that a woman would open a car door by herself, Bond rightfully deduces that the widow is actually the Colonel in disguise, played by stuntman Bob Simmons of the original 3 gun barrel sequences. This is a brutal and exciting fight sequence, and it's also a bit of a thrill for a fan to see Connery actually have an on-screen fight with his very own stunt double. Or depending on how much stunt doubles were used in this film, maybe it's a Simmons versus Simmons fight sequence. Who knows? Bond kills the Colonel, quite brutally I might add, by strangling him with the fire poker and then escapes the chateau in a jetpack, conveniently placed in the right spot. Wait a minute, how the hell did that thing get in there? Did he fly in on it? Would that not have brought up a lot of attention? Well, anyway, it's cool because it's a jetpack, but lame because it's so bloody gratuitous. I'm all for exhibitionism and outlandish stuff in these films, but I much prefer it when they come about organically, rather than just, hey, there's a bloke down the road with a jetpack, how do we fit it in the film? Anyway, he flies over to the good old Aston Martin DB5 to make his escape. It's never quite explained how Bond regained the car after crashing it into Auric Enterprises in the last film, but we can assume Q Branch just has these things on a conveyor belt. We then get a typically Bondian opening title sequence by Maurice Binder, who returns after 2 films absent. I love these titles, and they were kind of the first to really set this particular style. Dr. No was all flashing dots, and From Russia with Love and Goldfinger were all CD projections on half-naked women. Here, Binder creates a title sequence by rotoscoping naked swimming ladies cavorting about the screen, and it's great! We also see here that the underwater sequences of the film were directed by none other than Riku Browning. For all you movie trivia fans out there, Mr. Riku Browning is famous for playing the creature from the Black Lagoon in the classic Universal horror movie, The Creature from the Black Lagoon. There are a lot of similar names in the credits. Terence Young returns as director, but there is a name that we haven't seen before. Kevin McClory, who apparently produced this film. And as far as the lawyers are confirmed, he definitely did produce this entire film by himself, because Thunderball is his idea. Blofeld is his idea, Spectre is his idea, James Bond was his idea, action, spy, movie heroes were his idea, films were his idea, cinema, the concept of drama, story, Shakespeare, Everything ever written ever in the history of the human race has entirely been Kevin McClory's idea. And if you question that, he'll take you to court. The film proper follows the credits as we are introduced to the film's main villain and Spectre number 2, Emilio Largo, played by Adolfo Celli. You know this man is someone to be reckoned with during his first few seconds on screen as he parks in a non-parking zone.
Hey, no parking here! Pardon, Monsieur Largo.
Horror! A faceless Blofeld also returns, and we see him fry a guy before Largo begins detailing his plan to extort £100 million from world governments. Or at least he starts talking a bit, and then we spend the next 25 minutes being shown said plan put into action. This is one of my main bugbears about the film. Largo starts talking here, and he could just say, you know, we're gonna steal some nukes, give us £100 million, boom, plan sorted. But instead of a simple setup, we have an absolutely dreary and boring next 25 minutes showing us exactly how the weapons are stolen. James Bond is shoehorned in here because he just so happens to be relaxing at the same health spa that another Spectre agent, Count Leapy, is also at. Bond knows the man's a bad un right off the bat due to his tattoo. Always an interesting decision when a secret villainous organisation decides to brand itself publicly. Hello everyone and welcome. As you all know, Blofeld, our number one, has made me brand director for Spectre, so me and my team are going to be introducing some new uniform measures that you must make sure you wear at all times. Please wear this material at all times. First of all, we have, these have already been issued, our Spectre rings. Highly importantly, you will wear these at any time, even in the presence of MI6. I'm afraid it's just policy. The second part of the uniform is to take some sellotape and to then wrap it around your face like so. This is so that when you're out in the street, people can identify you correctly as a Spectre agent. The third and final part of the uniform is to take a frying pan and a spatula, and then start bashing your head with the frying pan spatula so that everyone around you definitely is fully aware that you work for a villainous organisation as prestigious as Spectre. Any questions? Any questions? Bond does a bit of snooping, is then spotted by the Invisible Man, and proceeds to molest a token sexy doctor woman, Patricia Fearing, played by Molly Peters. She responds to this assault not by calling the police, but by strapping Bond to some weird rack device. I have no idea what this thing is, which then cues one of the daftest suspense scenes in all of Bond.
Nice to have met you, Mr. Bond.
Hey, come back! Hey!
Mr. Bond!
I'm not even really sure this is supposed to kill him. I mean, it's stretching him slightly. I mean, he might get a bit of a cramp. I mean, come on, in the last film we had a laser going up to his knackers, and in this film we have this? Anyway, Patricia appears to stop the machine, in the nick of time, I guess. She then pleads for Bond not to tell her superiors about the incident, as she'd lose her job. So Bond blackmails her into having sex. Oh, sorry, did I say blackmail? I meant he playfully teases her into the steam room for a bit of rumpy-pumpy. Huh. Okay, I know it's wrong to look at this through modern eyes and modern values, and I know that Bond is a sexist, misogynist dinosaur, and that's part of the appeal of the character, but it is always a little bit awkward to watch him actually forcing women to, have sex with him. He did it with Pussy Galore in the last film, and that was pretty uncomfortable. If Bond was a real person, there'd totally be an inquiry into his history of sexual abuse. The whole rack thing and the following scene where Bond traps Lipe in a steam box really bother me. We don't see Lipe's face when the machine is turned up, but presumably Bond does, and Lipe certainly sees Bond when Bond gets his own back. I mean, 2 cuts later and we see Lipe escaped the whole thing. I mean, the whole thing feels really childish. Like, These guys are just pulling pranks on each other rather than taking their work seriously. Anyway, enough of that, and on with more plot, and the introduction of the best thing in the whole bloody film. Fiona Volpe, played superbly by Luciana Paluzzi. Volpe is frolicking in bed with Francois Deval, a NATO pilot, who, in an admittedly cool moment, opens a door to be gassed and killed by, well, himself.
Ciao.
The new Deval is actually a Spectre agent who had surgery to look like the dead Deval so he could commandeer a jet with 2 atomic bombs from a local airbase. Conveniently next door to the spa itself?
Oh, those damned airplanes. They're enough to drive you mad.
Who thought it was a good idea to put a health spa next to a military base? Right, time to decide where I should put my new super relaxing, super luxurious health spa. Now, let me see, where's available? Okay, a peaceful meadow? No. Tranquil lake view? No, I don't think so. Oh, this spot's great, right next to the military facility. That'll be a fabulous place for people to relax. Well, that's sorted. Now to decide where to put my new theme park, my new family theme park. Now, let's see what's available. Oh, that spot next to Guantanamo Bay has opened up. Fabulous! Count Leapy brings the dead Deval back to the health centre where Bond finds him. Meanwhile, the fake Deval is piloting a jet with the 2 atomic bombs into the seas of the Bahamas, so Largo and his men can come and get them in a sequence that is so dull, so boring, so overly long it goes beyond the point of tedium. Setting the standard for the rest of the film's underwater sequences, then. The fake Deval is killed for demanding too much money. Well, these Spectre guys never learn. It's not a good idea to extort more money out of that organisation before it's back to Bond, who is called into the office as a result. En route, an assassination attempt on Bond is made by Count Leapy before he is actually assassinated by Fiona under Spectre orders because he failed to foresee that the fake Deval would demand more money? Jeez, a Spectre will kill anyone for anything. What next? Spectre number 4 is killed for not putting the toilet seat down for Fiona?
Well, now that we're all here...
There's a nice Bond M moment as 007 arrives to be briefed in a giant hall with 8 fellow 00 agents. It's a great Ken Adams set, and one that is pretty enough to divert our attention from the fact that telling us this whole damn tale is kinda pointless. One of my main bugbears of this film is that by spending so long showing us every minute detail of the Spectre plot being put into action, that we, the audience, know everything. We know exactly what the villains are up to because we've seen it all. So Bond and MI6 are playing catch-up with us for the rest of the film, which is so very boring. There are no surprises. Goldfinger's grand plan was revealed expertly in the previous film. We were discovering things along with Bond being teased, drips of information, Operation Grand Slam, phrases and secrets throughout, so it keeps you interested and invested. You want to know more. Here, we know everything, and I'm tapping my feet waiting for Bond to catch up with everything that I've already been told. At the briefing, Bond recognises Deval as the man he'd seen at the health spa, and so requests that M send him to the Bahamas to question Deval's sister, Domino. M is surprisingly unquestioning of this and lets Bond go. It's all very tenuous, and I wouldn't say it's great spy work to just rock up somewhere and hope that the person you're looking for is actually around and will be helpful, but never mind, because after that we have one of the strangest scenes in all of Bond, in my opinion.
Now, James, you can't pull the wool over my eyes. You may be able to calm the old man, but I know better.
So do I, Miss Moneypenny. And I'll thank you not to refer to me as the old man.
I think I had a hat when I came in.
Okay, I really need some comments. I need someone to explain to me exactly what this scene is about, because it is so bizarre. Is it a joke? I really don't understand. I mean, when Bond enters the office, we see him hang his hat up, and now it's not there? I mean, did someone steal his hat? Did Moneypenny take it to add to her 007 shrine? Did Q steal it as revenge for buggering up so many of his gadgets in the last film? Were hat thefts a prominent thing in 1960s Britain? I don't know. I really need some guidance as to what the hell this scene is about. Anyway, Bond rocks up in the Bahamas. Well, if Bond's dressing down for this installment, I don't see why I shouldn't be able to. Bond is there to find Domino, who he finds with relative ease, and so we meet this film's Bond girl, Domino Duval, played by Claudine Auger. She's beautiful and everything, but the character comes across as Honey Rider light. She even collects shells, for goodness sake. We're also introduced to another Bond girl, or at least another woman in the film, as it's not really clear if Bond sleeps with her or not, but this is Paula, played by Martine Beswick, who you may recognise as one of the fighting gypsies from Russia with Love. I guess it was the other one who got to marry the guy then. There's lots of talking and gallivanting and tuxedo card playing and Kevin McClory cameoing, and I will say that the scenery presented here is lovely for my lack of interest in pretty much everything else that's going on. But then I guess the thing is that there isn't anything interesting going on. Bond is following a tenuous lead out of just, well, a hunch that he had, and now he's just swanning around stumbling upon convenient clues. Anyway, we get a bit of excitement when Bond returns to his hotel room and disarms an assailant. Or does that shower turning on sound an awful lot like the same sound that we heard when Oddjob was prying against the electrified bars in the last film? Deadly shower you got there, James. It's here that we're also introduced to our new Felix, Rick Van Nutter, though I'm slightly disappointed to see Nigel Farage didn't return to reprise his role from Goldfinger. Bond, Felix and Paula head into town to meet with a guy called Pinder. What? Oh my... I'm having a hard time keeping up with everyone in this film. This is no offence to the actor playing Pinder, but this character is completely redundant. There's no reason his secret shack thing couldn't belong to Paula. I'd much rather they gave Paula more depth and personality, but God forbid that might happen. Up next is a Q scene, which is just excruciating to watch. Desmond Llewellyn is fantastic as always, and everyone loves seeing him and the gadgets, but how Bond behaves here during this scene really pisses me off. He acts like a petulant schoolboy, and his interactions with Q feel more like genuine resentment rather than good-natured banter. This moment in particular I find cringeworthy.
Here we have a Geiger counter. Useful and unobtrusive. The sweep hand takes the radioactivity count. It's waterproof, of course.
But of course.
Oh, it's something about that silence that just goes right through me. I would go so far to say that this scene is especially badly written. It feels like a caricature of a Bond Q scene. Anyway, lots of meandering, stuff happens, there's underwater bits, and helicopter flying and clay pigeon shooting, but fortunately we have the shining light, Fiona Volpe, to liven things up. I don't know what it is about this character, but she just electrifies the screen every time she's on. She's a fantastic henchwoman and more than makes up for the rest of the villain's motley crew.
For you? Of course. Vargas does not drink, does not smoke, does not make love. What do you do, Vargas?
Go on.
Every man has his passion. Mine is fishing.
Oh, damn! I wanted to know what he does. Well, still, it's very intriguing, though, isn't it? I mean, it really paints a picture of a mysterious character. I wonder what it could be. I wonder when we'll find out. Well, if you have that same thought process, the more fool you, because Vargas is just another one of the pointless, underdeveloped characters that is thrown into this film. Just frustrating. Let's make up for that with a super badass cool moment from Bond.
Paul! Seems terribly difficult. No, it isn't, is it?
Jeez, that's a good shot, only to be bettered by Roger Moore in Moonraker. Oh yeah, Bond is touring around Largo's villa here, which includes a pool of sharks. I wonder what the cover story for having these things is. I mean, does Largo breed them? Are they pets? Is this legal? Oh, no, wait, no time for that now. Here comes something vaguely resembling a plot. Paula is kidnapped and Bond fronts a rescue mission, but she has taken her cyanide by the time he gets there. You'd think this would prompt some anger or emotion from Bond, but no. Oh well, there's plenty more titch in the she. Paula is very much the film's sacrificial lamb, and we see this in plenty of other Bond films as an ally who dies, but with Paula specifically, I feel like the character just exists so that they could fit another sexy lady into the cast, and she really doesn't have much of an effect. Her death does not really affect anything. Which is a shame that she is such a pointless character, because I think that Martine Beswick has a really warm on-screen presence, and I would have liked to have seen this character be developed more, maybe even become one of, our favourite James Bond allies. After some fun in the shark pool, Bond gets it on with Fiona. This is the same night that Paula died, by the way. I know it's all in a day's work for 007, but some kind of moment of mourning would have been appreciated. Anyway, Bond is kidnapped, but manages to escape, leading to one of the very best scenes of the film at the Kiss Kiss Club. No, not that Kiss Kiss Club. Despite the scene leading to the ousting of my favourite character, it is a very tense and exciting scene. Bond and Fiona dancing while Vargas aims a gun at Bond. I also love how much of this is left ambiguous. Did Bond intend to use Fiona as a human shield, or was it just the right dance move for the moment? There's a great punchline to the scene too.
One of my friends sits this one out. She's just dead.
There's more helicoptering as Bond and Felix find the sunken jet, the fake to Val minus the bombs, before Bond heads back to Domino's regular scuba diving spot for some rumpy-bumpy under the coral. I'd love to know how sex that far underwater would work, considering, well, breathing, and the scuba gear and goggles and whatnot. Still, it's incredibly kind of Bond to shag the girl moments before telling her that her brother is dead. Ever the gentleman, James. Ever the gentleman. I've heard people talk about this scene and refer to Connery putting on the sunglasses because he doesn't want to show any emotion to Domino. Not quite sure I buy into this, considering he showed absolutely no emotion earlier for Paula, who is actually a colleague and friend of his. This just seems more like product placement to me. It's a nice idea, but I really think they're just trying to flog us some sunglasses. Bond asks for Domino's help in finding the atomic bombs before killing Vargas. Told you that guy amounted to nothing. Damn, he's almost as bad as Elvis from Quantum of Solace. Bond gives Domino a Geiger counter to search for the bombs while he disguises himself as one of Largo's henchmen. Domino is rumbled and locked away while Bond uncovers Largo's plan to detonate one of the bombs on Miami Beach if Spectre are not paid £100 million. So it only took Bond an hour and a half to find out everything that we, the audience, were told right at the beginning of the film. Running time well spent, obviously. There's also dull underwater stuff in which I guess Largo recognises Bond behind his mask, so he runs off, but is picked up by Leiter, who gives the call for the United States Coast Guard sailors to parachute into the sea for a gigantic underwater battle. And of course Bond dives in too.
And the kitchen sink.
I knew everything looks good.
Is that Felix flirting with Bond? The underwater battle leaves a lot to be decided. It's one big, boring anticlimax and sounds better in concept than in practice. I think a large part of it is just that everything moves so damn slowly, and other than Largo and Bond, everyone else down there is faceless and random, so you don't really care about them. Is it even effective to punch someone underwater? There's also a staggering moment of animal cruelty here. I know this film was made in a different time and everything, but geez, I find this really hard to watch. The bit where the shark is shot with the harpoon, I mean, goodness sake, the thing goes right through the shark's head. I'm guessing, hoping that this was a self-defense sort of thing that just so happened to be caught on camera, but the fact it's in there is just kind of distasteful, and like I say, I'm a modern liberal sort of guy, but it's just so mean-spirited. Largo escapes the fight and sets sail in the Disco Volante, which still has an atomic bomb on board. Bond, too, sneaks on board, and we have a fight scene with intolerable editing to match that of Quantum of Solace. Honestly, this scene is just... it's everything that I hate about old-fashioned editing tricks in one compact segment. There are jump cuts, there's sped-up film, there's terrible back projection. This is supposed to be our climatic Bond versus villain showdown, and it flops so hard. Meanwhile, Domino is freed by... What? Who? Who is that? Hello? Care to introduce yourself? Sir, you seem quite vital to the story for some reason, all of a sudden. No? Oh, okay, we're just going to carry on like we knew we were supposed to be paying attention to you throughout the film, despite you never getting a close-up or more than 3 lines.
Look, the bomb cannot be exploded now. I threw the arming device into the sea. Do you understand?
What? What? You threw the device into the sea? And how have we not been shown that incredibly vital plot point? Oh, if Vargas and Pinder pissed me off, then this guy really takes the cake. He is featured in small segments throughout the film. The character is Ladislav Kutz, and he's played by George Pravda, but... wow, I mean, it's such terrible writing to suddenly give a background character such significance. He frees Domino because he's had a change of heart about Largo's plan, and this is a pretty big deal. It's a villain turning good, and it should maybe have some more time to develop this concept, but... I guess, you know, he hasn't got tits, so we're not supposed to be interested. It's a total deus ex machina, and one of my massive bugbears about this film. But fortunately for Bond, this means Domino can now shoot Largo in the back with a harpoon. Any kind of weight or significance this scene was intended to have is totally nullified by the horribly distracting rear projection, and the fact that this is all more or less done in one shot. Domino and Largo look at each other, and we should close up, we should see the anguish, the drama, the power, give me something. Don't just have him with his back to the camera, for goodness sake.
I'm glad I killed him.
You're glad? Who's he?
I don't know, but he helped me.
Okay, I do kind of love how Bond and Domino are completely the voice of the audience in that moment. No one has a clue who this guy is, least of all the scriptwriter. Anyway, Largo death grips the boat's wheel. Have to kind of admire the guy for that in his last moments. He's still sort to really mess things up for Bond. So our trio must jump ship.
Come on, now, jump. I never learned to swim. Never too late to learn. Get out!
After the boat explodes, Bond and Domino are flown away on a winch. Wouldn't surprise me if he tried shagging her while on the thing. We never see or hear from the guy with the glasses again. He claims not to be able to swim, so we can presume he either drowned or was eaten by a shark. It was his change of character that ultimately led to the saving of the day, but fuck it, no one gets on the sex winch but Bond and his bird. Having that guy along would totally kill the mood. So yeah, as you probably guessed, I'm not a big Thunderball fan. But as much as I may vocalise my dislike of the film, it is a Bond film and therefore not unwatchable. There are good things in here. I've already expressed my love of Fiona Volpe here and in other videos, but the locations look fabulous here and the cinematography is quite wonderful. It's obvious that they were using a different kind of film stock to accommodate the new widescreen aspect ratio, and the end result is a more filmic look than the previous three films, making Thunderball, aesthetically at least, a classier, more indulgent looking film. There are a handful of fun geek-out moments. The clay pigeon shooting is great, the car ride with Fiona, everything that happens at the Kiss Kiss Club, but a handful of cool moments can't make up for the untidy, boring mess that is the majority of this film. It's understandable that at this point the filmmakers were running out of steam. Thunderball was the fourth Bond film released in as many years, and when you look at the growing scale and scope of these movies, it's clear that more time, money and effort was needed to keep up the quality. It's undeniable that Thunderball certainly does put every cent on screen. It's nothing if not decadent. But the opulence is somewhat diluted by the slapdash nature of the editing. Now, I can't dog on the editor, Peter Hunt, entirely. He's obviously a super talented, super influential figure in the editing world. However, obvious jump cuts and sped up film have no place in any movie past the 1930s. I feel like in some way I can blame director Terence Young for this. I don't think Hunt was provided with footage of sufficient quality for editing. If the fight on the boat wasn't fast-paced enough, then the answer is to refilm or shoot from different angles, give more varied shots, not just speed up the footage. The end result is really confusing for me because Thunderball ends up looking super expensive and yet cheap at the same time. The dubbing in this film is also distracting and annoying, more so than in any of the previous films. I mean, the dubbing on Goldfinger himself was superb. I couldn't believe that wasn't Gert Frobe speaking when I found out. But here, they even used the same lady who voiced Honey Rider to voice Domino, Nikki Vandersil, who is a very talented lady with a beautiful dulcet voice, but how many Bond girls can one woman voice without it all being too samey? Domino herself is a poor Bond girl. She has no personality. The kept woman thing is handled much better in other Bond films. The Man with the Golden Gun, Tomorrow Never Dies, License to Kill. They all have the same character in a way, but handle her better. Domino is beautiful beyond words. I think the actress does a fine job, but she just doesn't have much to work with here. Largo is also a poor character. He has none of the colour of Goldfinger, the menace of Red Grant, or the intrigue of Dr. No. Much like Domino, he is a character without personality. I mean, what do we have to work with here, really? I mean, come on, okay, the guy is, he's ruthless. He's jealous? Yep, that's all I got. I really struggle to find any character in this character. If he didn't have cool white hair and an eye patch, this guy would be pretty much forgettable. I think the most frustrating part of it is that these are not untalented actors. These are all fantastic people who play their parts fine, but it's just that the script doesn't actually give them anything to do, anything to work with. The supporting cast suffer the worst. Paula, Pinder, Patricia, Felix, Vargas, Lipe, Ladislav, Fake Deval, none are allowed to make any real impression and all end up feeling like wasted opportunities, particularly Paula for me. I would have loved to get to know her better, what her relationship with Bond was like and how her death would affect him, but ultimately the supporting cast are all just props to get James Bond into certain situations and places, and they add little colour to the film beyond the natural charisma of some of the actors. However, the MI6 regulars are all on fine form as usual, but what about Connery himself? Well, if you ask me, Goldfinger is Connery's best performance as Bond, and nothing comes close to that. But Thunderball certainly benefits from a more confident and self-assured performance, and considering how south things go with Connery in You Only Live Twice, it is at least nice to see one more top-form Bond performance from him. The underwater scenes are a real oddity. It's an impressive technical feat, there are some lovely shots, but it all falls down when you expect someone to be riveted and excited by an action fight sequence in which no one can actually move fast. You can't see anyone's face, you lose all sense of geography, of where anyone is trying to get to. It's a complete mess, but a pretty looking mess. The same cannot be said of the most heinous aspect of the film: the script, the story, the plot. It annoys and baffles me no end that it's the rights for this film that have caused so much commotion and legal wrangling and arguably brought about the death of Fleming himself, because I would go so far to say that this is the Bond film with the very worst story, the very worst plot. I've articulated throughout the video in detail why I think this story and script are flawed, but it does largely come down to simply the structure. It is a terrible move to show us the villain's entire plan right up front. There's no mystery, no intrigue. It's basically, we know what has happened. We know where the bombs are, and we are expected to watch Bond fumble around for an hour and a half, trying to find the damn things. The plan itself is really quite boring and simple too. I mean, it's the stuff of parodies. And you know what? In a lot of ways, Thunderball really does feel like it's not a part of the official James Bond film canon. I don't know if it's all the bad dubbing or what, but it feels like a knockoff. An expensive knockoff, but a knockoff nonetheless. With pretty much every other Bond film, my opinion has flip-flopped, and when you go on a ranking thing, they go up and down. Thunderball, I can remember from the first time I saw it when I was like 10 years old, I've never ranked this film highly. It has always been towards the bottom of the list, and that's not something that's likely to change. In my last ranking video that I did a while ago, I put this film above Quantum of Solace, and after this most recent viewing, I don't know if that was fair on Quantum of Solace. I'll need to watch Quantum of Solace again, but right now, Thunderball is a strong contender for my least favourite Bond film of them all. As a child growing up as a Bond fan, this was always the film that I felt some shame about not liking. all the Bond books and magazines that I read, all the reviews when I was, 10, 11, 12 years old, would talk about how wonderful this film is, and to be honest, it baffles me no end that some fans think that, and I'm talking objectively here, I'm not even talking, my own subjective opinion, objectively, some people think that Thunderball is in any way, shape or form superior to, say, a good few Roger Moore or Pierce Brosnan movies, because Thunderball is a bad film. It is badly written and badly assembled.
Well, you can't win them all.
And I'm glad that more recent analysis and reviews of this film have been more willing to criticise, because just because this is a classic Sean Connery Bond film doesn't mean it should get a free pass, which I think it does. But at least it gave us our beloved Fiona Volpe. Oh, Fiona. Regardless of how I might feel, the film was a roaring success, and until Skyfall, and adjusting for inflation, Thunderball was the highest-grossing James Bond film for decades. Shocking.
Positively shocking.
But I would be fascinated to know, from fans of this film, exactly what it is that you like about this film. If you can articulate yourself in the comments below or on my Facebook page, I would be really thrilled, because I would love to know more about what people like about this film. The film did come out at the height of Bond mania. The franchise was super successful and recognisable all over the globe. Everyone wanted a piece of 007, and because of some pesky rights issues, some other film company did actually get to have a piece of him in the next James Bond film to be released, the unofficial spoof that is Casino Royale.